All right, you guys. So I just got an order from my Etsy shop. Well, probably a few hours ago, earlier this morning, and I put the sale on um, to try to sell out of a couple of items that I had already printed, and I am going to go ahead and cut these orders to size. They are cards that I print in my Etsy shop. So I'm going to cut these to size and I'm going to package these up today so I can ship them out tomorrow. And I think this is the only order I have right now. I haven't checked my Etsy since that first order came in this morning, but I put a 40% off card and stationery item sale in my shop to run, I want to say, for 24 hours. And I may do another sale before the end of the week. But I'm going to package this. I'm just going to show you guys the items. These are 2 cards. I think there were multiple of each item. I want to say 5 of one card and 3 or 4 of the other. So I'm going to cut these to size. I have the 5x7 size for the cards that I'm selling. I may start offering 4x6. I just need to cut those to size to see how they look and if I like them or not, and see if there are any requests for cards in that size. I do know a couple of people that sell those sizes, so I may start offering those. But these are the 2 that I have. And one says Sun-Kissed and Fabulous, and the other says It's Your Time to Shine. So cut these, fold these, and I have a scoring board, so I'm just going to show you cutting a few of these. And they're PDF printables that I designed myself and did it as a image in Canva. So some of the cards that I do design in Canva. I do have a pro subscription there. And initially I had just a free subscription, but I eventually upgraded because I felt like a lot of the options and elements, etc., that I wanted to use required the pro subscription. So I upgraded. I want to say it's still $12.99 a month, but I mean, nowadays a combo at a restaurant is probably $12.99, and that's like fast food. That's not going to sit down somewhere. So $12.99 is not much of a sacrifice for business purposes, especially if it's going to be something that you're utilizing to get a return on your investment. So for my business, $12.99 is not a lot in my book. Now, if you're just starting out, of course, you want to try to utilize free elements until you start generating income or some type of revenue, because every dollar definitely counts. And I have music playing in the background, just so I have something going on, because I'm sitting right under a vent in my upstairs bedroom, aka office. So I don't want you to hear all that wind blowing necessarily. So this is cut to size. Okay, there should be some tissue in here. I think it's in Daddy's room. Go look in Daddy's room. Right there on the file cabinet beside his computer. Alright, you guys, so I am back. I've been up here probably a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I have not been interrupted. But as you all know, especially if you are parents, as soon as you get around to doing something, disaster strikes. So I was I was being summoned by my little one to help her find some tissue to blow her nose. But I am back and I'm still cutting cards. And I had to pause the video because I needed to go wash my hands after helping her. So I am back, and this is the second design that I'm cutting, and this one is the It's Your Time to Shine card. And these cards they can be used really for any type of occasion. I would say if you are just thinking of someone, you have a girlfriend you haven't seen, somebody you graduated school with, someone who has celebrated a recent event, like if they've graduated, they've gotten a promotion, any odd reason, any reason just to say hey, just to be like, I see you, just to point out that any woman, any friend, you want to send them just a thoughtful card, this is an option here. So that's one reason I started designing these cards, is because when you go in the store, it's kind of like birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, baby showers. But those thanking of you cards are not always something that I like. The ones that you can see, they're just generic cards. But I wanted something more specific for a woman. Because I have several friends, especially with COVID, working from home, office buddies, people you haven't seen in a while. A lot of jobs have transitioned to a lot more remote work, which, hey, by all means, I definitely enjoy that. I'm not complaining about that. But when that person crosses your mind and you just want to send them something, because I don't know about you, but when I was younger, getting mail was not exciting. But as I've gotten older, you know how you see those memes about people waiting on packages and getting a thoughtful note in the mail? That definitely can make someone's day. It does make mine. So just something thoughtful to send to someone, to be like, hey, I'm thinking of you. Hey, I've seen you post something recently on Facebook. Wanted to congratulate you. Wanted to let you know that I see you doing well out here. That really is uplifting and exciting to get, recognition for. So, because you posting on someone's Facebook page, Instagram post, yeah, that's definitely thoughtful. But taking that little extra initiative to get a stamp, write a handwritten note, and send them something in the mail, yeah, that is definitely a big mark in my book of like, they are really thinking about me. It's not just like, let me just post to say something. So that was another reason I wanted to do the stationery, the cards, and designs that I would look for myself. So as far as inspiration, that's where these have come from. Things that I would personally go into the store looking for. And once I kind of came up with the idea of what I wanted, a lot of the designs from there, I would just kind of tweak and make minor adjustments to the designs, because some of them may be similar, but some people want something that may remotely resemble the person that they're sending the card to. So one thing I'm big on is, if you want something that looks like you, looks like your lifestyle, then I want that to be an option that I have to offer in my shop. So whether you are a slender lady, you are a medium, you're plus size, whatever your lifestyle is, I want that to be an option that exists in my shop. So I have been big on making sure that I offer something for any and everybody. And if I get quiet, it's because I'm trying to focus, because I didn't print a lot of these cards. I'm trying not to have to print any additional cards. I want to actually use the ones that I've printed in excess of what the original order was, because I was trying to figure out my print settings. And when I did get them right, I just printed a surplus of cards. So that was the reason again for this sale. It was because I had printed several cards and I wanted to, I'm trying to minimize inventory. I don't want to become a pack rat with all of my stuff, because as you know, once you start accumulating craft supplies, it goes haywire. Because I was a Cricut newbie and I started getting, seemed like 1,000 rolls of paper and any and everything. So I'm trying to make sure that what I have is what I use. And that was something I heard on one of the ladies' TikToks that I follow. Is like, if you have stuff sitting around and you don't want to start hoarding, which could be easy when you're a crafter, put a sale on what you have. And if your products are good and you have good quality items, more than likely they're gonna sell. So I did, and within a few hours of me posting the sale, I got an order for several of these cards. So TikTok is definitely worth looking at for business tips. Pinterest, I'm definitely trying to, as they say, work smarter, not harder this year. And use what I have, because that's another thing. Like when you get into the crafting business, it's kind of hard to figure out what you want to focus and centralize on. You have to really just, sometimes you have to figure out what you like, what you want to do, and that sometimes unfortunately will mean that you're gonna dibble and dabble in everything, a little bit of everything, and it's not cheap. It definitely is not cheap now, and it was not cheap before COVID, but you can definitely ring up a good $100 in one shopping trip to Joann's or Hobby Lobby or Amazon or wherever you are buying your supplies from. And speaking of supplies, if you are trying to figure out where I got my cardstock paper from, you really have a lot of options. There is not anything, any one brand I would say like has been my absolute favorite, at least that I've found. Most of them you can kind of feel the quality of the cardstock and you can read the reviews, but if you're in a pinch, Walmart has cardstock. I try to get the 110 pound weight cardstock. That's the minimum that I'll use for the greeting cards. You can get thicker, but I would also recommend that if you're doing cardstock, greeting cards, or anything that's going to be printed, you need to be sure that your printer specifications can handle that thickness of a paper, because if you mess up a printer, that's nothing compared to, a pack of paper, trying to replace a pack of paper. So just be mindful of the cardstock being something that your printer can handle. but 110-pound cardstock is what I use, and I use paper that can be printed on a laser printer. Now, some people do print cardstock greeting cards using inkjet, and I have, and I will. That's not a problem. But with that, just be mindful that inkjet printers are gonna have an ink that, if it is exposed to water or some type of liquid, the ink will fade, it will run. So for me, just with this being a product that I know I have to ship, and then that, sometimes people get a card and they touch the card, their hands may be wet. Now, I don't know why, but I mean, you know how life is. And you don't want the ink to fade or smudge because of it coming in contact with something wet. So I've just learned that offering it and printing my cards using a laser printer have been the best option for me. Now, depending on your personalization and what type of card that you're printing, the laser printer may not work for you. And laser printers are a little bit steeper in budget. However, I had already had a laser printer when I decided to start making the greeting card. So it wasn't an additional purchase that I had to make because it was already a piece of equipment that I had. So back to using what you have, this was something I could add on to my shop with a minimum investment and not have to purchase equipment that would be excessive in cost because it was something I already was using to make items for my shop. And that was the water slide decals. So, and when I originally started with water slide decals, I was using an inkjet, and I found out that the time required to make those items using an inkjet printer was just more than I wanted to invest, which, I mean, I had the time to do it, but you would have to print the item, you would have to seal the item, and that would involve like basically applying a acrylic coating, meaning spray painting, and you would have to let that item sit, typically in the summer 24 hours, in the winter 48 hours before you could ship it. So finding time to paint the item and then let it sit before shipping was just becoming a headache. So that's when I bought a printer, which was a laser printer, and about 2 years after I had that was when I started thinking about the greeting cards. And I didn't make a jump immediately to do it, but one day I just sat down and I felt creative and started making a couple designs, and I started saving those in my Canva folder under greeting cards. And then one day I sat down and I printed a few, and I was kind of excited, and it's just gone from there. So this is one of the first videos I've put up because I've had a couple people just inquire about my process. I've had a couple people just want to know more about my shop, and I'm trying to be as transparent as possible to give a little insight, because initially my thought was like, people are going to steal your designs, but I honestly think that if nobody can match what you do. They can imitate it, but everybody is their own person. So you have your own little quirks, you have your own little differences that are going to make you unique. So there's room for everybody to figure out what they want to do and how to go about doing it without really taking away from someone else. So I am out here just doing what I do. And I'm going to let the music play for a few minutes, and I'm going to finish cutting cards, this card at least. And I'm going to pause the video, and when I come back on, well, no, I'm not going to pause it. I haven't really figured out how to do all of those transitions yet. So let me finish cutting this and then score a few of these cards. And the scoring process is basically going to be where you have a, what is that thing called? You have a scoring tool, which is usually like a bone folder or something with a tip, where you run it down the middle of the scoring board, and that's where you're basically getting your fold lines in your card, and you're not having to guess and hand fold these things. So a scoring board is another investment that you would want to have if you're going to be doing greeting cards or anything that requires folding. And if the folding needs to hit like a certain point, the scoring board takes the guesswork out of that, because it does have those measurements on the board and where you are trying to actually hit like that measurement or that exact point. So I'm trying to just line these cards up, and I think I did a good job cutting them. They pretty much all look about the same size. Now, granted, this is handmade, so there's no special equipment here to slice and dice these things to perfection. So I do make a note in my Etsy shop that because they're handmade, there may be slight variations in the sizing. So don't expect perfection with the sizing. It's going to be as close as possible to that size, but it may be a smidge of a fraction, like off. So, but 5x7 is what they should be, and it may be just a smidge off. So give me a minute to find my scoring tool. It's supposed to be in my scoring board, but I guess I must have been rushing to move on to the next thing because it's not in here. Alright, you guys, so I have my scoring board. I have this bone folder, which is what I'm going to use to actually do the lines in the card for the scoring. And it's fairly simple. The measurements are here, and the card is 5x7. So I'm going to score at the 5-inch line, and you basically push it up flush to the header of this board. You find the 5-inch indicator on here, and it has grooves in here that you're going to basically place the bone folder in and score. You don't want to press too hard, but you do want to press firm enough to give that indentation in the card. And you fold. Now this one has a little bit of excess once it's folded, and that would be because of the handmade side of things. So what I'm going to do is there's a little bit of overhang of white on here, and if I'm buying a card, I don't want to see that. So I'm going to take out my cutter and cut it to remove that excess paper. Ooh. And I did buy myself a better paper cutter, or a guillotine, as you would say. I was not pleased with it. I tried to buy something that was inexpensive, but I think that was not really the best option, because I don't feel that it cuts on, I don't feel that it cuts good. Like, I mean, it'll cut the paper, yes, but the actual lineup, the edging part, I don't feel that it cuts the paper where I need it to. Like when I run it flush up against the edge, it looks a little bit like the angle of it may be off to where it's not lining up to give me a perfect straight edge. So I have not used that in a while. Now I'll use it if I'm just cutting blank cardstock or something that's not going to be for sale. But no, for this, it needs to be as good as possible. So I'm not using something that's going to interfere with the quality of my products. Now I probably will buy a new guillotine, but I have a certain goal I want to hit of a number of cards or stationery items from my shop before I make that jump. So once I hit that, then I will make that move to buy the guillotine, which will make my paper cutting efforts cut down tremendously on the time, as well as the effort I have to put into this, which basically just means it's going to minimize the amount of time I have to spend cutting cards, because it's going to cut more at once, which is going to improve my productivity. And that's always a goal with business, is to make as much money as possible in the least amount of time and enjoy yourself while doing it. So considering I like to make cards, this is a plus in my book. Alright, let's just make sure the edge lines up. So there's a little bit of white showing, so I'm just going to edge this to remove that excess. And this cutter that I am using is one that I bought when I got my Cricut machine ages ago. I think I bought my first Cricut in either 2016 or 2017. No. That was my second Cricut. I had the old classic Cricut when those things first hit the market, that you had to crank, like roll that dial and pull the paper into it. It was not like it definitely was not what you work with today. It was surely something that was like, it was fun, but it wasn't anything I would look at for a potential business. Or I didn't even have any business thought, because that thing definitely required a lot of manhandling to to use. So it wasn't until I got the Cricut Explorer that I started thinking, okay, this thing can be used for business purposes. And I mean, no, it took a couple years before I decided to use it for business, but it definitely is an option if you have one and you're crafty. A couple things you can definitely take the plunge and do. And I'm just going to score the rest of these cards and fold them. And then I'll cut the excess off. No. Yeah, this did not go as planned. I scored. So I'm going to have to print another card, because I scored down the wrong score line. that looks a mess. So it's gonna have another crease in it, which is not gonna work in my book. So I need to print another one of these. Unfortunately, I may have one already printed in a stack, but yeah, if you can, there's like another little score line in here, and I don't want that to show. So yeah, I'm just gonna need to print another one if necessary. So that is it, you guys. I am done, pretty much done here today. So I'm gonna end this video and just say to my fellow watchers, if you like this content, then I'll definitely be posting more. This is my first video. I'm excited about that for sure. But if you like this and you want to see me keep doing this, and I'll definitely be posting different stuff, more cards. I'll be doing at some point a tutorial to show myself actually making or designing a card on the computer, and you can follow along and do that. I'll be showing when I make buttons. I do make pinback buttons. I'll be showing like the process of making flashcards, just different stuff that I do. Some of those items I don't currently have in my shop. They're kind of like a word of mouth thing. And some items I do have in my shop, but I'm going to be adding more items to my shop this year. And I have my own Shopify store, and I'm just going to show you a couple things of what I do. And that way, if you're interested and you want to follow someone that does the same thing, get inspiration, get tips, that's pretty much what you can find on my channel. It's like the DIY version of that, where you can do it at home, wherever you're at. It's an option you'll have. So if you want to subscribe, you can. If you want to just like the video, if you like the video, then do feel free to actually like this video and follow along. My goal will be, we're in August, so I have a birthday to celebrate for my daughter coming up here soon. So I probably will post another video before the end of this month. And after that, it will be, my goal will be to post a video. It'll be a shorter video, of course. But my goal will be to post a video, 2 videos a month until I get my mojo going. I'm still new to this YouTubing process and uploading videos, piecing these videos together. All of that is kind of new to me, so I'm figuring that out. So I'll post the content as I make it, so you can follow along and see what I'm doing.